All right. Hey, hi, welcome back. So this is part 4. So to kind of recap, I think I was kind of stunned to learn the way Melissa Nathan lied to Justin Baldoni and spoke shit about him behind his back. I felt particularly heartbroken actually that he was finding this out for the first time as part of this deposition. The context, obviously, remember, is there was trust being given, and Justin was going through a hard time already with the whole Blake Lively situation. And, he's hearing about this for the first time in this deposition in front of Melissa Nathan herself is there. She is one of the 6 people there observing. And there are 13 attorneys. There is the videographer and the stenographer. And Justin Baldoni, for the first time, is seeing text messages where Melissa Nathan has been speaking shit about him and lied about the leak of a story that she was actually involved with. When he asked her about it, how did this happen? She lied about her involvement. I really feel for him at this point. And I am annoyed that I'm having to say this, but Stephanie Jones was right in warning him. So yeah, that's where we kind of got up to. I don't think this is going to get much better. At the moment, we are dealing with Stephanie Jones's lawyers, so we're not dealing with the Blake Lively side of it yet. This is the Jones works kind of questioning, really, although it will be used in both lawsuits. That predominantly Stephanie Jones is asking questions for her own lawsuit. So we left off there. Now we're into this. And they're continuing to talk about the Rebel Wilson, Amanda Ghost alleged smearing the lawsuit, Melissa Nathan's involvement. They are now talking about Brian Friedman and his involvement in that too. So let's begin. Okay, and my throat is a bit funky, by the way. Sorry, I've talked a lot over the last few days, so if I kind of clear my throat or something, I apologize if my voice goes squeaky. Okay, so Shah is just still questioning. Okay, do you know that Brian Friedman also represented Rebel Wilson in connection with those lawsuits? Justin, I did not. Okay, are you aware that there's text evidence in this case about Melissa instructing Katie Case and Jed Wallace instructing Katie Case about the copy to write against Amanda Ghost on behalf of Rebel Wilson? Shapiro and Glover being Jed Wallace's lawyer, both object. Justin, I didn't even know who Amanda Ghost was. No one showed this text to you? Then Glover and Shapiro object. Justin, no. Okay, 68 please. I'm going to hand you what's marked as Exhibit 11. It's a text thread between Katie Case and Melissa Nathan. It's a long text thread, but if you could focus for me on page 4951. Shapiro then interjects. Mr. Baldoni, read as much as you need to answer the questions. And then Baldoni says, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. So Shah then says, you can, and Justin says, this is not something I'm on, right? And Shah says, no, it's not. You can look at any time, as much of this as you want. I'm going to try and help direct you, and I'm going to direct you to start at 4951. I want you to look at the text message from Melissa Nathan at 9:40 a.m. where she says, Justin, sorry, I'm just reading the first page. Sure. And I'm having a hard time reading. Is this blown up somewhere? It probably is in the back, but it's not relevant to the questions I'm going to ask you. Feel free to look at it anyway. Actually, you know what? I'm going to ask you about it, so go ahead and look at it. Justin, happy? I'm preparing. Okay. Let's start at the top. You'll see at 9:36 a.m. Melissa texts a screenshot from someone named Scott with a photo. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Do you understand that to be Scooter Braun? Yes. You know him, don't you? I do. Okay. And then down below, Katie Case says, good for you. And Melissa Nathan says, he cannot expect us to work with Stephanie. I won't do it. Do you see that? I do. Did you have any understanding at the time that Melissa Nathan had extreme frustration about working with Stephanie Jones on Scooter Braun's account? No. No. Did you have an understanding at the time that you hired her that she had extreme animosity towards Stephanie Jones stemming in part from their mutual work on Scooter Braun's account? Shapiro objects. Justin, no. Have you come to that understanding at any point since, or is this the first time you're hearing about it? Shapiro objects. Justin, this is the first time I'm hearing about it in this way, yeah. Did Scooter Braun ever express to you any issues that Stephanie Jones and Melissa Nathan had about working together for him? Shapiro objects. Justin, Scooter and I rarely, if ever, talk. Have you talked to him since these lawsuits were filed? No. Not once? No, not once. Okay, are you aware that Melissa Nathan and her team at TAG would regularly send texts about Stephanie Jones calling her a fucking bitch and saying other pretty nasty things about her? Shapiro objects. I don't know how I would be aware of that. Were you aware that they felt that way? Shapiro objects. Justin, no. Okay. Were you aware that Melissa and Jen Nathan joked multiple times about killing Stephanie Jones? Sorry, Melissa and Jen Abel. Oh, okay. Forgive me. I didn't know if there was a new party to the case. No, my mistake. Were you aware that Melissa and Jen Abel have joked multiple times about killing Stephanie Jones as a gift to each other? Jesus Christ. Shapiro objects. I am not. Okay, that's not something that anybody has mentioned to you? No. Okay. No. As you see below, Melissa says, he cannot expect us to work with Stephanie. I won't do it. And then Katie Case says, it's just not possible. Oh my gosh, wait. What if you used a business insider thing as a reason not to do it? This really showcases how little she can be trusted. I don't want her interacting with my team. We're working too hard, and I'm worried about details being leaked internationally if there is a difference of opinion. Do you see that? I do. You understand from this text message that Katie Case is suggesting that Melissa Nathan should use the Business Insider article that's coming out about Steph as a reason to get Scooter Braun to separate from her. Do you see that? Shapiro objects. Justin, I do. My brain is... Shapiro says, can we take a break? Justin says, no, I'm trying to... There's so many pieces here. Okay, so one more time. Shah then says, do you see that Katie Case is suggesting to Melissa Nathan that they should use this Business Insider article that is coming out about Steph? Show it to Scooter as a reason he should stop working for Steph. Shapiro objects. Justin, okay. Okay? And do you see that? And I do see that. And do I feel like they're just... Right. Justin, and do I see that? Got it. There's a lot of dots. If this is the same Business Insider thing, which I don't know if it is, then yes. I just don't know what the Business Insider thing is they're talking about here. I was not part of this conversation. Right. And you're not aware that Katie Case and Melissa Nathan actually fed most of the details to the Business Insider reporter to get them to publish that article in the first place, right? Shapiro objects. Justin, correct. Okay. All right, let's keep flipping. Shapiro, counsel, can we take a 10-minute break, please? Were you almost done with the document? If you're almost done with the document, we can wait until after you finish with the document. Shah says, I probably have 10 more minutes of questions on this document. Shapiro then says, then let's take a break now then. Shah, all right. I trust you're not going to talk about the document during the break. Shapiro, no. Shah, all right. So they're going to go off the record. They seem to be gone for longer than 10 minutes, but about 15, 16 minutes. And then they come back. Okay. You will look for me at Exhibit 11, which we were discussing before the break. I would like to direct your attention to the page marked 4951. You see at 9:39, it's the second text. Katie Case writes to Melissa Nathan. Also, hi, how are you? Do you see that? Yes. Okay, and Melissa Nathan writes, it is 6:30. I'm already trying to kill one rebel story and dealing with Mattel loss for Brian. Do you see that? I do. And I'll represent to you that Melissa Nathan testified in this case that Rebel meant Rebel Wilson and Brian meant Brian Friedman. Justin, thank you. Okay, then Melissa writes, so basically Rebel wants one of those sites. Shapiro objects. Shah says, I wasn't finished with my question yet, but Shapiro says, well, okay, but you misread the text. Shah then goes back and says, Melissa Nathan writes, so basically Rebel wants one of those sites. Do you see that? Yes. And then Katie Case responds, 2 texts below, and she reads, okay. And then Melissa writes, should be a mixture of that document that I think Carolina pulled about Amanda Goes, or the intern pulled, the voice note, and this. And then there's an attachment. Do you see that? Yes. Okay, and then Katie Case writes, okie dokies, I'll pull this together in the morning. Do you see that? Shapiro objects. Then she reads, I'll pull this together in the morning. Do you see that? Justin, that I see. All right. And then Melissa writes, thank you. It can be really, really harsh. And then link it to the Jed S voice thing. Do you see that? Yes. All right. I will represent to you that Melissa testified that Jed S is Jed Wallace. Okay. All right. And if you look at the text above, I will represent to you that she testified that when she said should be a mixture of that document that I think Carolina pulled about Amanda Goes, or intern pulled. Carolina is Carolina Hurley, who works for TAG, and Amanda Goes meant Amanda Ghost. Okay. I'm glad she clarified that because I didn't know what the hell I was reading. Justin, it's a lot of names, but okay. All right, then she references a voice note and an attachment. There's a voice note from Jed Wallace attached to this text thread that talks about what the smear allegations against Amanda Ghost should be that go on the website, okay? Shapiro and Glover both object. Then Shah says, that's not a question, I'm just telling you that. Justin, oh, thank you for telling me. Sure. And if you look at the attachment that Melissa attaches, it starts at the page marked 4958. Okay. And then she reads, this website is dedicated to telling the world the truth about Amanda Ghost, who has maliciously tried to destroy the lives of countless artists. Seeing as she is currently funded by one of the world's richest men, it has been near impossible to release information about her wrongdoings for the past 2 decades. And at the bottom of the paragraph it says, more recently her behavior has escalated into unwanted sexual advances on young women. She is the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell, whose only friend in the world seems to be the convicted felon Boy George. Wow. Okay. So Boy George, British pop singer, was part of Culture Club, sung Come a Chameleon. I'm sure most people will know this, but he was convicted of false imprisonment and I think it was like assault or battery. He basically tied someone to his radiator and battered him with a hammer, I believe, with some kind of, weapon. He went to prison for it. He's not a nice person at all, in my opinion. Okay. Indian Ghislaine Maxwell, that's just... Oof. Okay, do you see all of this? Justin, yes. Are you aware of whether or not this is a first draft of the copy that ultimately became a smear website against Amanda Ghost? Justin, I've never seen this before. All right. I have no knowledge of any of this stuff. All right. If you flip the page, sorry, to where we were before, my apologies, go to 4952. At the top of the page, at 9:56, there's a text from Melissa that says, Len, Russian oligarchs and making her a madam basically, lol, said Jed. Do you see that? Uh-huh. I will represent to you that Melissa testified that Jed meant Jed Wallace. Yes. And then Katie Case writes, oh my god, lol. Okay, this one will be fun. Do you see that? Justin, I do. Wow. Okay, flip the page. Next page, 4953. There's a text from Melissa at 1:58 p.m. in the middle of the page where she says, I have to drive to this fucking meeting. Do you think you will have that copy ready? Do you think you'll have that copy for Jed today? Because I need to make it really hammy. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Okay, and Jed meant Jed Wallace. I was hoping she was going to explain what hammy meant as well, because I don't know whether it's just being British. I have no idea what that means. If anyone can explain that in the comments, what does hammy mean? If you go down later in the page, KTK says at 4:02 p.m. Is Jed doing anything on Justin? I'm having Zoe monitor, but that's not the same. Lol. Do you see that? I see it. Okay. And I will represent to you that Jed meant Jed Wallace and Justin means you. Great. If you flip the page, Melissa Nathan says, not yet. They've not signed him on. Katie Case writes, ugh, I wish they'd get a move on. All they care about is social right now, and we can't do anything about it. Lol. Also, what are we supposed to do about a journalist calling her? Like, do your job, Jen. Lol. And then Melissa writes, Jed and Brian asking me for copy. Lol, kill me. Do you see that? I do. All right, and I'll represent to you that Jed is Jed Wallace and Brian is Brian Friedman. Do you see that? I do. All right. Did you have any knowledge before I just showed you this document that this has been produced in this case? Justin, no. Okay, would you be surprised to learn that Katie Case testified that Melissa Nathan worked with Brian Friedman and Jed Wallace to create a smear website against Amanda Ghost on behalf of client Rebel Wilson? Shapiro and Glover object. Justin, I believe I would be. Okay, is that something you would have wanted Melissa Nathan to tell you about when she was representing you and suggesting that you bring Jed Wallace on to handle socials? Shapiro and Glover both object. Justin, I don't know if I would have expected it because I didn't know it existed. Okay. If Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace had a practice of creating smear websites and smear social media accounts against adversaries of their clients, is that something you would have wanted to know before you decided to hire both of them to help you against Blake Lively? Glover objects. Justin, I would imagine so, yes. Do you know who the Alexander brothers are? No. Have you ever heard of three brothers with the last name of Alexander who are real estate agents in Miami who have been accused by many women of rape and sexual misconduct? Shapiro objects. Justin, no. Okay. Are you aware that Katie Case testified under oath in this case that she also worked with Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace to create a smear website about the victims of the Alexander brothers on their behalf? Wow. That's terrible. That's really awful. Glover objects. Shapiro objects. Justin, as I said, I don't know. I didn't know who they were, so I don't know anything else. These are really quite shocking things we're hearing now about Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace, for that matter. I know, I'm well aware, and I have covered the deep dive into the Jed Wallace and into Jed Wallace's role in Bam Margera's conservatorship and the subsequent lawsuit that occurred there, and he did not do good. He pretended to be a doctor. I'll have to link that X thread. I think it's on an X thread I did it, so I have to post a link to that actually, because it's quite shocking. And I did say at the time, look, he does not look good in that role, and what he did there against Bam Margera and the lies he told. But that does not mean that he is guilty of anything here, etc., etc. But hearing that he has actually been involved in other things this is really disappointing. Again, doesn't mean they did anything untoward here against Blake Lively. Obviously, Justin Baldoni is not aware of anything they've been doing to Stephanie Jones or anyone else by the sounds of it. So he's not liable for what they've done either. But wow. Okay, so Glover and Shapiro both object. No, sorry, past that. Justin, as I said, I didn't know who they were, so I don't know anything else. Shah, and nobody has told you in this litigation this is what Katie Case has testified under oath about the activities of Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace. Shapiro, I'm going to object and then Glover talks over and says objection form. So Shapiro instructs you and remind you not to provide any information that you only receive from any attorneys if you know anything about the answer to this question. And then Justin, no attorneys has told me that. No, I don't know anything about it. You've told me though. Shah, okay. Is the tactic of creating defamatory smear websites and social media posts about people a tactic that you approve of? Shapiro and Glover both object. Justin, it's not a tactic that I would ever employ. No. Is it a tactic that you would ever approve of? Shapiro objects. Justin, I think I said a similar thing to that. I would never approve of anyone creating a smear website for me. I can't stop what someone else does. Would you want to knowingly associate yourself with people who regularly employ such tactics against other people? Glover and Shapiro object. Justin, I can't imagine I would. Just remember, Melissa Nathan is sitting listening to all this. I don't think Jed Wallace was. Are you happy that you are now associated with at least 2 people who have employed such tactics against other people? Glover and Shapiro object. Justin, there is nothing about this situation that I'm happy about. Specifically, with respect to the fact that you have associated yourself with at least 2 people in your employ who have a history of employing such tactics, are you happy about that? Shapiro and Glover object. Justin, as I said, there is nothing about any of this that I'm happy about. All right. Do you have any understanding of whether Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed these tactics against Stephanie Jones? Glover and Shapiro object. No, I don't. Why would I? Well, because they work for you. Shapiro objects. Who works for me? Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace. Shapiro objects. Counsel, do you have a question? Justin, I don't understand. Shapiro, you're making statements. Can you pose a question, please? Do you have any knowledge about whether Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed these tactics against Stephanie Jones during the pendency of these litigations on your behalf? Shapiro and Glover both object. Justin, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay, do you have any idea or understanding about whether Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed similar tactics against Blake Lively, either before or during the pendency of this lawsuit on your behalf? Shapiro and Glover both object. Shapiro, I just want to instruct you again, Mr. Baldoni, to the extent there's a question posed about your understanding about anything after the litigation started, do not share any information you received only from your attorneys. Justin, would you mind repeating the question? Do you have any understanding about whether Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed similar tactics against Blake Lively, either before or during the pendency of this lawsuit on your behalf? No. Glover objects. Is it possible, having seen everything that I've shown you here today, that Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed these kind of tactics against Stephanie Jones during the pendency of this lawsuit or before? Glover and Shapiro both object. Justin, I have no idea. It could have happened. You just might not know about it, right? Glover and Shapiro object. Justin, lots of things could have happened. I don't know about any of them. I don't know how. I don't know how to answer that or how that's relevant to anything. And I agree with him. I don't see how that's relevant either. You can't say with 100% personal certainty that Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have never employed these tactics against Stephanie Jones behind your back, can you? Glover and Shapiro object. I can tell you that I would never ask them to, and I have no knowledge of anything that they've done, so I don't know how to answer that. And the tone is getting quite aggressive now. So Shah then says, but sitting here today, under oath, you cannot tell me with 100% certainty that Jed Wallace and Melissa Nathan have never employed these tactics against Stephanie Jones behind your back, can you? Glover and Shapiro object. I think you just answered your own question. Shah, I'm looking for an answer from you. Glover and Shapiro object. But how could I know if it happened behind my back? Love it. That's a great answer. Shah, I'm asking if, Justin, I don't know. I genuinely have no knowledge of any of this, so I just don't understand what you are asking of me. Shah, my question is, are you willing to testify under oath and then Justin interrupts and says that something is possible? I mean, I don't know why she's asking him to testify under oath that something might have happened that he knows nothing about. My question is, are you willing to testify under oath? And then Justin interjects that something is possible. Shah, with 100% certainty that it didn't happen. What a stupid question. Shapiro and Glover, they both object. Justin, no, because I couldn't testify either way that it didn't happen or did happen because I'm not part of it. I don't know anything about it. Okay, are you able to testify with 100% certainty under oath that Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace didn't employ similar tactics against Blake Lively behind her back? Glover and Shapiro object. Justin, my answer is the same. Shah, which is no, you cannot testify with 100% certainty that it didn't happen. Now she's putting words into his mouth. Shapiro and Glover both object. Shapiro, can we ask him questions that he has knowledge of? This is completely out of bounds. And then Shah interjects, with all due respect. And then Shapiro says, crazy. Shah, you're limited to non-speaking objections. Make your objection, and then it looks like they have a bit of a tussle. Shapiro says, yeah, but you have an obligation to ask questions. Shah, I'm not going to debate you on the record. Shapiro, that are likely calculated to lead to discoverable evidence. None of this fits that criteria. Shah, that's in my judgment, not yours, so I'm going to ask my questions. Shapiro, well, if you want to waste another 3 hours, go ahead. Shah, it might be a waste of your time, it's not a waste of mine. Can you read that question back? And the stenographer says, sure, let me find it. Shapiro, this is not in good faith, counsel. Shah, I disagree with you, counsel. Oh, spicy. I love it. Stenographer, okay, the last question, and then he reads, you cannot testify with 100% certainty that it did not happen. That is such a stupid question. Because it makes no difference, even if he says, no, I can't say 100% it didn't happen, but that's just, you can't testify also that 100% that it did either. I don't understand the objective of that, because it's proof of nothing. Shapiro and Glover both object. Justin, sure, I have no idea what happened or didn't happen, so I can't testify either way, whether it did or didn't, as I wasn't part of any of it. Sure, it appears that there was a lot about what Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace were doing with relation to putting up smear websites and social media accounts and digital manipulation that you weren't aware of before I just showed you, right? Shapiro and Glover both object. Justin, I think that's a fair statement. Okay. Do you have an understanding of whether anyone at TAG ever planted or fed information to a reporter that resulted in a negative story about Blake Lively in August of 2024? Shapiro objects. Justin, I do not. You don't know one way or another? I know the directives were to not do anything negative, absolutely. And if someone from TAG has testified in this case that they in fact did plant a negative story about Blake Lively, that's not something you're aware of? Shapiro, objection. Justin, no. Are you aware that Brianna Butler-Kozlow testified under oath in this case that she deliberately leaked information to the Daily Mail in August of 2024 that resulted in a negative story about Blake Lively? Justin, I was not. No one has told you that since you testified? Shapiro, objection to the extent it calls for any communications with your attorneys. Do not answer. Justin, no. If that had happened in August of 2024, is that something that as tax client you would have expected they run by you before they did? Shapiro objects. TAG had very clear directions to not create anything negative. And if they did create something negative that resulted in a negative story about Blake Lively, is that something they would have expected? You would have expected them to tell you about? Shapiro objects. I would have expected them to tell probably Jamie. I was not in communication every day about everything. Okay. What's your understanding? You testified earlier about a truce that you believed was in place between your camp and Blake Lively's camp with respect to media, right? Yes. And your understanding is that truce had been brokered between Melissa Nathan and Leslie Sloan, right? That's what was relayed to me. Do you have any understanding of whether or not or how that truce may have been broken? Shapiro objects. Justin, I don't know. Okay. Do you think someone from TAG deliberately leaking negative information about Blake Lively in order to plant a story about her in the Daily Mail broke that truce? And then we have an objection from Shapiro. Justin, I don't know. Shah, well, the truce was to not put out any negative stories about each other, right? Yes. And so if someone from TAG did, in fact, put out a negative story about Blake Lively, you would agree with me that broke the truce, right? I'm sorry, let me go back. My understanding of the truce wasn't negative stories. My understanding of the truce was to not be in touch with any reporters about any of that, anything. So I don't think it was just negative stories. It was commenting on the current speculation. Okay, so if the truce was not to be in contact with any reporters about anything, and then Justin interjects, anything related to the speculation about what people were talking about. Sure. If the truce was not to be in contact with any reporters relating to anything about the speculation about what was going on between you and Blake Lively on the film, you would agree with me that somebody from TAG planting a negative story against Blake Lively broke that truce. If that's what happened, then I would imagine that would be accurate. I don't know if that's what happened. I wasn't there. Well, you were there. You just didn't know, right? Shapiro objects. Justin, well, this is the first I'm hearing about any of this, so I don't know. Okay. Are you pleased this is the first time you're hearing about any of what I'm telling you now? Shapiro objects. You ask me a lot if I'm pleased or happy. I don't think that's a fair characterization of anything I'm feeling right now. Are you unhappy that you never heard before any of the things I'm telling you now? Shapiro objects. Justin, if they turned out to be true, then yeah, that would be an accurate feeling of what I would feel. But I haven't been able to do any of my own investigation. You're just telling me and I'm hearing and responding to you. If it turns out that all of these things are true, do you wish, in hindsight, that you had followed Stephanie Jones's advice about Melissa Nathan? Shapiro and Glover both object. Justin, I don't even know how to answer that. Do I wish in hindsight? So if everything you're saying is true, do I wish in hindsight that I'd followed Stephanie Jones's advice back last year before hiring Melissa Nathan? Shah? Justin, I can't answer that. Do you still have no regrets about hiring Melissa Nathan? Justin, as I said, I really try not to have regrets. So is that a no? Objection. I don't know, and I don't mean to laugh at your questions. Shapiro, time out, the iPads are not updating. The stenographer, that means Wi-Fi probably cut out. Jonathan will reconnect them. Shapiro, okay, thank you. And then the videographer says, can you just refresh this? Shapiro, okay, thank you. Justin, would you like me to be done with this one? Sure, yes, thank you. I'm going to show you a document that's been marked as Exhibit 12. It's a text thread between Jennifer Abel and Matthew Mitchell from January 14th, 2024. Just read through this with me. Justin, yes. Have you ever seen this before? I have not seen this entire text thread. I do believe that one of these was made public at one point. I don't know where it was. I don't know if it was an article or maybe it was in the lawsuit or something. Have you ever talked to Jennifer Abel about why she said this about you? Yes, I did. And what did you say? Well, she actually called me one morning. I was sleeping and she was in tears. And she just said, Justin, I'm so sorry. I said, for what? And she said, some texts have been made public where I'm talking shit about you and I'm just so sorry. I don't believe the things that I said. I was just pissed because you didn't want to do something and I'm sorry. And I said, I understand. I'm not going to forgive her. I'm not going to hold it against her. I'm sure if somebody's phone was scanned, I'm sure there's a lot of people that talk shit about a lot of people. So as a rule, I do my best to not do that. And yet I'm sure lots of people have said these things about me. If you flip to the page marked 41608, the text message at 2:02 p.m. In the middle of the page, she writes, he may fire us because even if we put together an amazing campaign, it's not going to change the fact that he's so unlikable and unrealistic as a leading man. There's no chemistry with him and Blake. You and I both know that she will be resistant to promote this movie and press will be reluctant to do anything with Justin without Blake being part of it. So there, those are my thoughts. Do you see that? I do. Have you ever seen this part of the text message before? I don't think so. You left Jonesworks to go with Jennifer Abel as a publicist after she was fired from Jonesworks, right? Shapiro objects. Justin, I'm not sure I agree with your framing of the question. Which part do you not agree with? Can you ask me again? You left Jonesworks to go with Jennifer Abel as a publicist after Jennifer Abel was fired from Jonesworks, right? Shapiro objects. And then, Justin, I don't know the sequence. I don't know that Jennifer had put in her notice, so I'm confused by the way the question is asked. Let me ask it another way. You left Jonesworks to go with Jennifer Abel as a publicist after she left Jonesworks, right? Shapiro objects. Justin, yes. Why? Because she was my publicist for years before and I trusted her. Do you still trust her? Objection. I do. Okay, have you seen any documents or text messages in this case or otherwise where Stephanie Jones is talking shit about you? The way Jen Abel was? I mean, I have. But you've also seen her talking shit about Blake Lively for that matter in text message. Justin, I haven't seen any documents about Stephanie Jones in general to my knowledge. Okay. Are we done with this one? Yes. Okay. Are you aware that after Wayfarer onboarded Tag as its crisis publicist, Katie Case and Melissa Nathan were joking about whether your faith was a cult? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I was not aware. What do you think about that? Shapiro, objection. Well, I think anytime someone makes a religious joke, I think that's not okay. It seems to have happened a lot in this case. Including from your own publicist? It seems. Shapiro objects. If you want to show it to me, I'd be happy to see it. I haven't heard anything. This is the first I'm hearing about it. Sure. Tab 139, please. I will show you a document that's marked as Exhibit 13. It's a text thread between Katie Case and Melissa Nathan from August 4th, 2024. Okay, sorry, there is one more page. Have you not seen this before? I have not. Were you aware that Katie Case and Melissa Nathan were texting things like this about you when they were on call with you? Shapiro objects. Justin, I was not. What do you think about that? Shapiro objects. Justin, I think they have every right to say whatever they want. Did Jennifer Abel ever warn you or Jamie Heath or Tara Hanks against hiring Melissa Nathan before you brought her on as crisis communications? Not to my knowledge. Tab 85, please. Are we done with this one? Yes, thank you. I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 14. It's a text thread between Jen Abel, Jamie Heath, Stephanie Jones, and Tara Hanks, dated 26th of July 2024. Just read through this for a moment if you'd like. If you look in the middle of the page, marked 13940, there's a text message from Jennifer Abel that says, and then she reads, "Thanks all. As per our conversation, I also had a negative experience where I confronted her with lies and shady behavior and the attempts to poach, and I had to get the client involved to straighten out the situation." Do you see that? I do. There was a with. I confronted her. You added a with. But just for the record, where am I? But just for the record. Okay, I will rely on what the document says if I misread it. Do you know whether or not this conversation that she refers to, or this text thread that has to do with Jennifer Abel's prior experience with Melissa Nathan? Shapiro objects. Justin, I'm not on this thread, so I don't know. Did Jamie Heath or Tara Hanks ever relate the substance of that conversation or this text thread to you? I don't believe so. Tab 86, please. I'm going to hand you a document marked Exhibit 15. For the record, this is a text thread between Jen Abel and Matthew Mitchell, dated 5th of April 2024. Do you see this? I do. All right, if you will go to the text starting at 2 minutes past 2, you will see Matthew Mitchell says, MN kind of talks out of both sides of her mouth. And then Jennifer Abel responds, "You think? She's a piece of shit. I honestly used to like her, and now I see her for how she really is." And then Matthew Mitchell writes, "She's manipulating things, but he's also covering and keeping her on because of the debt owed to somebody. It's gross, to be honest." Do you see that? Did Jen Abel ever relay to you that she thought at least at some point that Melissa Nathan was a piece of shit? Shapiro objects. Justin, I'm sorry, I'm almost done with this document. Sure. Okay, would you mind re-asking your question? I'll ask it this way. Did Jennifer Abel ever relay to you any negative sentiment she ever had about Melissa Nathan before she recommended that you bring her on as crisis communications? Shapiro objects. Justin, no. Okay. Are you aware that after Melissa Nathan was hired as your crisis publicist, Melissa and Jennifer Abel were talking about Jen taking you and Wayfarer and all of the Jonesworks clients with her when she left Jonesworks? I was not. Okay. Do you know whether or not Jennifer Abel recommended that you hire Melissa Nathan so that she could position Melissa Nathan to transition with you and Wayfarer and Jen? I'm sorry? Shapiro objects. Baldoni. Okay. Sure. I will start it again. Justin, I feel like I'm watching an episode of a TV show, like following the storylines. Sure. Can you break that down simply for me? Yeah. Are you aware of whether or not Jen Abel and Melissa Nathan ever had a plan amongst each other to steal you and Wayfarer as clients from Stephanie Jones? I'm not aware of any such plan. Okay, are you aware of whether that is the reason Jen Abel recommended that you hire Melissa Nathan? Shapiro objects. I'm not aware. Okay. I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 16. Thanks. Is this the one I'm on? Nope. Okay. It's a text thread between several people at TAG, dated August 2nd, 2024. Justin, may I read it, though? May I read through it? Yes. All right, okay. Now, reading through this, do you recognize this as a text thread where women at TAG are talking through a call that they expect to have with you? It appears to be. Okay, and this is on August 2nd. Do you know whether or not you had formally retained tag at this point? I don't believe we had. Okay. Do you know whether this was the first call that you were on with tag by this point? August 2nd, I was in Sweden for my wife's birthday, I believe. Yes, I believe this sounds like that was around the day that I met them for the first time. Okay. And before this call, you were provided with a scenario planning document from TAG. Do you recall that? This scenario planning document? Yes. And do you recall talking or texting to Jen Abel after you reviewed the scenario planning document that you were dissatisfied with it? I vaguely remember it. I know there are texts, but What do you remember about those conversations with Jen Abel? I remember reading it and feeling like it wasn't that impressive of a document. Why didn't you think it was that impressive of a document? It just kind of felt like, I think the feeling I had was that they were just the document kind of felt like they were trying to get the gig, maybe. But I just remember not feeling that, not loving it. Do you recall feeling like it wasn't sufficiently protective of you? I remember feeling like there needed to be more defense. Like, I just remember feeling I wanted more protection. Yeah. Protection against what? I don't know, everything. I was just scared. Scared of what? I'd never been in a situation like this. What were you scared could happen? Well, I'd just been kicked off my own movie, a film I was working on for 5 years. People that I thought were my friends were not following me publicly anymore. And it seemed like things were being done intentionally to cause some sort of public conversation. I'd never been involved in a crisis, and I was just scared. So I think they could have said that they were going to build me an iron dome, and I still probably would have felt like there wasn't enough protection. Were you scared of things that Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds might do? I was terrified of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively in general, especially considering they had just threatened us and said they were taking the gloves off if I didn't release a statement. What did you understand taking the gloves off to mean? Again, I didn't know. I know what they were able to. Are you okay? Excuse me. Yeah, I know somehow that they were able to take my movie from me, so I didn't know what they were capable of. Is that what you believed happened, that they took your movie from you? Yes. Were you scared at this point in time that Blake Lively might make public any of the accusations about your on-set behavior that she had made privately to you and Sony? Glover, objection. I was afraid. Are you okay? I was afraid of lies coming out about me. Lies from Blake Lively? Yes. About your behavior on set? Well, it was one of the things. Lies in general. I didn't know. I mean, at this point, I was already made aware that her team was pitching stories that I was in a cult, and I had already been told that Mr. Reynolds had told agents that I was a predator of some kind. So I was made aware that there was damage that they were trying to do to me already, and I didn't know what they were capable of. Is it fair to say that at this point in time you wanted to defend yourself in the event that Blake Lively made public some of the accusations about your on-set behavior that she had already made privately, including to you and Wayfarer and Sony? Shapiro objects. I think it's fair to say that I wanted to plan to defend myself from any lies that were going to be told or anything else they were going to try to do to me, including lies about, or what you felt to be lies about her concerns with you your on-set behavior. I think that's part of it, yeah. But you say in one of these, so this is a little bit hard to follow, I understand. It's all good. If you turn for me to page 142, you see that it looks like Melissa Nathan has attached screenshots of a conversation between her and Jen Abel. Do you see that? And if you flip the page to 143, and you can see this better on page 150, it looks like Jen Abel has sent Melissa Nathan screenshots of a conversation that she had with you. Okay, so I'm looking at a text message that come from Melissa to who? To someone else? Look on 143. And then inside that text message is a screenshot of Melissa included of a text message between me and Jen. It looks like that. All right. Flip to 150 if you would. Shapiro 150. Shah. The screenshots in the black boxes here. Do you recognize that as a text conversation between you and Jen Abel? That's my name, so I would assume it is. And you say, morning. Not in love with the document they sent. Not sure I'm feeling the protection I feel on the call. Do you see that? I do. What call are you referencing? I don't know. I'm imagining, I don't see a date on this, but I'm imagining it's the call the first time that I met them. Them being tag? Yes. Okay. But I can't speak to it 100% because I don't know the dates. And if you flip forward to 149, that's backwards. Sure. You will see the black box looks like the text between you and Jen Abel. I'm assuming this is from the same thread. Looks like it to me. Okay. And then you see someone write to Jen Abel, we can't write it down to him. We can't write, we will destroy her. We will go to this. We will do this. We will do this. We will do this. Do you see that? I do. And then it looks like Jen responds, of course not. But I told him that's the point of talking through. Do you see that? I do. Do you have a recollection when you expressed to Jen Abel that you weren't thrilled with the scenario planning document that she responded to you in sum or substance? We are going to have a call with tag. That's the point of talking this through. Shapiro objects. I do not even remember the phone call, Jen. Okay? That we are even talking about. You don't recall the phone call with Jen where you expressed to her that you weren't, or any text or conversation with Jen where you expressed to her, I'm not thrilled with this document? I believe it was in a text message. That I think you have here. I don't know if we had a phone call about it. Okay. We might have, but what was your question? My question was, when you expressed to her that you weren't thrilled about the document, yeah? Do you remember her giving you any comfort around, we're going to talk it through with tag, and you should understand it better once we have this call? I believe this is what she texted me, which is in the photo. I could be mistaken. But independent of this document, do you have any recollection of her responding in that manner, or in any manner, when you said, I'm not thrilled with this document? I mean, my recollection is that it was a scenario planning document, and it's all I really remember about it. I think it was just done via text. Okay. But if anything else pops in while you're asking me questions, I'll come back and I'll tell you. After you received this scenario planning document, do you recall then getting on a call with people from TAG to talk through the scenario plan? I'm sure there was a second call. I don't have a specific memory of that call. Okay, do you have any general memory of that call? I have a memory of the first call. I don't really have a memory of the second call. What is your memory of the first call? Mostly that my wife was sitting with me and we were in Sweden. I was in the middle of trying to pull off this massive surprise for her birthday with all of her friends, and while dealing with all this, and I remember meeting Melissa. I felt very comforted, but like she felt very motherly, and she seemed very kind. She felt like somebody I could trust. I think I remember that I had changed. I think I remember starting by apologizing because I changed the meeting time so many times because we were so far ahead. That's what I remember. Do you recall Stephanie Jones being on that call that you had with TAG? I don't. Do you recall Jen Abel being on that call you had with TAG? Yes. Do you recall Stephanie Jones being on a second call that you had with TAG? I don't really remember the second call, so I don't know who was on it. Do you remember if Jen Abel was on it? Shapiro objects. Justin, same answer. I'm not even sure I'm assuming there was a second call, but that's one I don't remember. Do you recall Stephanie Jones being on any call you had with TAG? I don't. Do you recall if Stephanie Jones ever saw the scenario planning document that TAG sent to you? I don't. Okay, if you turn to page 144, It looks like at the top of the page, Brianna Butler and Katie Case are reacting to your criticisms about the scenario planning document. And Brianna says, I'm sorry that document was strong, and we talked through all the possibilities of him doing some big sit down which would kill him. Do you see that? Yes. And then Katie Case writes, it's really fucking strong. He can't come up as the victim, she'll destroy him. Do you see that? Did they ever relay in sum and substance to you, or did anyone at TAG ever relay in sum and substance to you that you can't come up as the victim or Blake will destroy you? No. I'm not sure what this is saying or what it's about. Okay, and then down below, Brianna Butler says, I think he'll be fine on the call once we're talking through. Do you see that? And then Melissa Nathan says, he will be. We need to be tough. Do you see that? And then below, Melissa Nathan writes, exactly, Brianna. I need you to be in a good place, with your camera on, if okay, to be able to help me talk really toughly to him. I wouldn't usually ask, but he sounds like a fucking mess. Jesus. Do you see that? Yes. Did you feel like a fucking mess at the time? I don't. Did I feel like a fucking mess? I was really emotional. I mean, I don't know if I would call myself a fucking mess, but I think they are clearly hearing about me, so they're entitled to their opinion. And then below that, Melissa Nathan writes, and also, this is the first one that Jen has given us, and she's taken all the clients. Do you see that? I do. Do you have any awareness of whether or not Melissa thought that you were the first client that Jen was given to TAG, and that Jen was taking all the clients from Jonesworks when she left? Shapiro objects. Justin, I have no idea. Did Melissa ever encourage you to leave with Jen when she left Jonesworks? I don't remember her encouraging me. Are you sure about that? Shapiro objects. Justin, I remember. I think I remember telling her I was going to go with her, but I don't remember Melissa saying, like, you should go with her. What do you recall about telling Melissa that you were going to go with Jen? I don't remember the conversation. I don't remember how it came up, but I remember that I was going to go with Jen anyway, so it wasn't like a secret that we were hiding from anybody. Did you make that decision? Did I make that decision? To go with Jen when she left Jonesworks, did you make that decision personally? That was a consultation between myself and Jamie, and I believe at the time Tara. And when did that consultation and decision happen between you and Jamie and Tara? I don't know exactly when or the date. Can you place it in time in relation to when Jen actually left Jonesworks? Can you help me with when she left Jonesworks? Sure. If Jen, or was she fired from Jonesworks? Okay. I am going to move on to part 5 and carry on there.